Naomi's heart pounded as she stood frozen in the doorway of the CEO's office, watching Dominic Kavanaugh slam his fist against his mahogany desk. Papers scattered, his coffee cup toppled, and the dark liquid spread across what she recognized as important contracts. An expletive escaped his lips as he ran his hand through his dark hair, not yet noticing her presence. "I can come back later, Mr. Kavanaugh," Naomi said quietly, clutching her cleaning cart. Dominic's head snapped up, his stormy gray eyes meeting hers. For a moment, something flickered across his face, embarrassment, perhaps, before the cool, composed mask of the CEO returned. "No," he said, straightening his posture. "Come in. I apologize for the display." Naomi nodded and wheeled her cart into the expansive corner office, keeping her eyes downcast. In her 6 months working for the elite cleaning service contracted by Kavanaugh Enterprises, she'd never seen the notoriously controlled CEO lose his composure. "I didn't mean to startle you," he said, composing himself. "No worries." Naomi reached for the roll of paper towels on her cart, moving efficiently to blot the spill before it could do more damage. These things happen. As she worked, she felt his eyes on her, studying her with an intensity that made her skin tingle. She cleaned his office dozens of times, always after hours when executives had gone home. This was the first time they'd been alone together. "You're Naomi, correct?" he asked suddenly. Surprised, she looked up to find him leaning against the wall, his arms crossed over his broad chest. His tailored suit couldn't hide his athletic build, and Naomi forced herself to focus on the task at hand. "Yes, sir. Naomi Vasquez. You've been cleaning my office for months, yet this is the first time we've properly met." A slight frown creased his brow. "That seems wrong somehow." Naomi shrugged, uncomfortable with his attention. "I'm just doing my job, Mr. Kavanaugh." "Dominic," he corrected. The silence between them grew heavy as Naomi finished cleaning the spill. She could feel the weight of unspoken words, of boundaries crossed and social divides that seemed suddenly more apparent than ever. "Bad day?" she asked finally, surprising herself with her boldness. His laugh was short and humorless. "You could say that. The Richardson merger is falling apart, and if we don't salvage it by the end of the week, 200 jobs are at stake." Naomi nodded, understanding the burden of responsibility he carried. "My father always said pressure makes diamonds." "And what does your father do?" Dominic asked, genuine interest in his voice. "He was a janitor at the university." Naomi straightened, meeting his gaze directly. "He scrubbed floors to put me through college. I have a degree in business administration, Mr. Kavanaugh." Something in his expression shifted. "Then why?" "The recession hit hard," she interrupted. "I was laid off from my entry-level position at Bennett Financial when they downsized. Then with a new baby and no experience, companies weren't exactly lining up to hire me. Now my daughter is 5. To look after her, I have accepted this job. This cleaning job offers better pay and flexibility than the administrative positions I could find." Dominic opened his mouth to respond when his phone rang, the harsh sound slicing through the atmosphere that had somehow developed between them. With a nod of apology, he answered it, immediately transforming back into the commanding CEO. Naomi took that as her cue to leave, pushing her cart toward the door. Just before exiting, she glanced back to find him watching her, phone still pressed to his ear. He mouthed a silent "thank you," and she smiled in response. Neither realized that brief encounter would change both their lives forever. 2 weeks later, Naomi entered the executive floor after hours, surprised to find lights still on in Dominic's office. She hesitated, considering whether to return later when his voice called out, "Is that you, Naomi? Please come in." She pushed her cart inside to find him sitting on the leather couch near the window, suit jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up to reveal strong forearms. A half-eaten sandwich sat on the coffee table beside stacks of reports. "Working late again?" she asked, keeping her tone professional despite the flutter in her stomach. "The Richardson merger. We saved it, but the paperwork is..." He gestured to the chaos surrounding him. "Endless." Naomi nodded, beginning her usual cleaning routine. "Congratulations. Those 200 jobs are safe then." Dominic looked up, surprise evident in his expression. "You remember that detail?" "Of course." She moved around the room, straightening items on his desk. 200 families are sleeping better tonight because of your work. That matters. He watched her for a long moment. Most people only see the profit margins. I'm not most people, Naomi replied, then immediately flushed at her boldness. Dominic smiled, his first genuine smile in her presence, and it transformed his face, softening the sharp angles and bringing warmth to his eyes. No, you certainly aren't. Their gazes held for a heartbeat too long, and Naomi was the first to look away. I should finish up, she murmured, resuming her tasks with focused efficiency. I've noticed something about you, Naomi, Dominic said after several minutes of comfortable silence. You organize my desk better than my assistant ever has. Naomi paused mid-motion. I hope that's not overstepping. It's not. He stood, crossing the room to stand beside her. In fact, I've been meaning to thank you. Your system makes sense. You group items by priority, not just alphabetically or by date. She smiled, pleased he'd noticed. Business administration degree, remember? I organize how I would want my desk if I were the one making the decisions. Dominic leaned against his desk, crossing his arms. And what decisions would you make in my position? The question caught her off guard. That's not for me to say. Humor me. His voice was gentle, curious. I've read every report, heard from every vice president and board member. I'm curious what someone with fresh eyes would see. Naomi hesitated, then set down her cleaning supplies. The Richardson merger was important, but you're overlooking the potential of your sustainable energy division. The quarterly reports show promising growth with minimal investment. Dominic's eyebrows shot up. You've read the quarterly reports? Heat rushed to her cheeks. They're left on your desk sometimes. I glance at them while organizing. To her surprise, he laughed. Most people would take a peek at my calendar to see if I'm dating anyone, not analyze my company's financial reports. Their eyes met again, and this time the air between them seemed to crackle with something Naomi dared not name. I should go, she said softly, gathering her supplies. My daughter's babysitter. Dominic nodded, stepping back. Of course. But Naomi. He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. I'd like to hear more of your thoughts sometime. Perhaps over coffee. The question hung between them, laden with implications. Naomi wanted to refuse. He was her employer, technically, and the power imbalance was undeniable. Yet something in his eyes, something vulnerable and genuine, made her nod. Coffee, she agreed. Just coffee. Just coffee, he echoed, though his eyes suggested it could be so much more. They met at a small cafe far from the corporate headquarters, neutral ground where they could be just Dominic and Naomi, not CEO and cleaner. Over lattes, they discovered connections neither had expected. A shared love of classic literature, similar views on business ethics, and a mutual addiction to spicy food. My daughter thinks I'm crazy for putting hot sauce on eggs, Naomi laughed, warming her hands on her mug. Smart girl, Dominic replied. Tell me more about her. Naomi's eyes softened. Lily is my world. 5 years old, and already reading at a third-grade level. She wants to be an astronaut, or possibly a unicorn trainer. She's keeping her options open. Dominic smiled, but something in his expression shifted, became more guarded. Her father. Not in the picture, Naomi said simply. He left when I told him I was pregnant. His loss. Dominic nodded, his jaw tightening. Indeed, his loss. 3 coffees and 2 hours later, they reluctantly parted ways, both aware that something fundamental had changed between them. What had begun as curiosity had evolved into connection, and neither was quite sure what to do about it. The following weeks brought more late-night conversations in Dominic's office, more coffee meetings that carefully avoided being called dates, and a growing awareness that they were treading dangerous waters. The cleaning company's strict non-fraternization policy hung over Naomi's head, while Dominic faced scrutiny from his board for every personal decision he made. Still, they couldn't seem to stay away from each other. You look tired, Dominic commented one evening, finding Naomi changing the trash liner in his office. She shrugged. Lily has the flu. I was up most of the night. Without hesitation, he reached for his phone. I'll call Dr. Peterson. He's the best pediatrician in the city. Dominic, Naomi interrupted gently. We have health care. We're fine. He set down his phone, visibly frustrated. Let me help, Naomi. Please. Why? She asked, the question she'd been avoiding for weeks finally escaping. Why do you care so much? Dominic's expression softened. You know why. The tension between them could have been cut with a knife. Naomi took a step back, maintaining the professional distance she knew was necessary. I should go, she whispered, though it was the last thing she wanted. Don't. His voice was rough with emotion. We need to talk about this, about us. There can't be an U.S., Naomi said firmly. You know that. Why not? He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his subtle cologne. Because of what other people might think. Since when do either of us care about that? Because I'd lose my job, she countered. Because your board would have a field day with the scandal. Because I won't be anyone's charity case or social experiment. Pain flashed across his face. Is that what you think this is? I don't know what this is, Naomi admitted. But I know it's complicated. Dominic ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she now recognized as frustration. Life is complicated, Naomi. That doesn't mean we walk away from the things that matter. The silence between them stretched, loaded with unspoken words and unfulfilled desires. Finally, Naomi spoke. I need to think, she said. And you need to consider what this would mean for your company. He nodded, respecting her space, even as his eyes conveyed everything his words couldn't. Weeks passed with strained politeness between them. Naomi rearranged her schedule to clean his office at different times, and Dominic buried himself in work. Both were miserable, and neither knew how to bridge the growing gap. Then came the corporate gala, a glittering affair to celebrate Kavanaugh Enterprises' 30 years in business. Naomi was there not as a guest, but as part of the cleaning staff, wearing a simple black uniform instead of a designer gown. She was clearing champagne flutes from an empty table when she felt a presence behind her. You're avoiding me, Dominic said quietly, his voice sending shivers down her spine. Naomi turned, keeping her expression neutral despite the way her heart raced at the sight of him in a tuxedo. I'm working, Mr. Kavanaugh. Mr. Kavanaugh again? After everything. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Meet me in my office. 5 minutes. Please. Before she could respond, he was gone, leaving her with trembling hands and a decision to make. 5 minutes later, Naomi slipped into Dominic's darkened office, closing the door behind her. He stood by the window, silhouetted against the city lights. I've been thinking about what you said, he began without preamble. About my company and the complications. Naomi stood her ground, though her instinct was to go to him. And I don't care. He turned to face her, his expression determined. I've spent my life building this company, making decisions based on spreadsheets and profit margins. For once, I want to make a decision based on what matters most. Dominic, let me finish. He took a step toward her. I've reorganized my sustainable energy division based on your observations. Profits are up 20% in just 2 months. Naomi blinked, confused by this unexpected turn. That's wonderful, but I'm offering you a job, he continued. Director of Strategic Planning. You'd report directly to me, professionally speaking. No cleaning carts, no late nights unless you want them. Regular hours so you can be with Lily. She stared at him, stunned. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious. I've seen your insights, your intelligence. This company needs you. He paused, his voice softening. I need you, but not as my employee. Naomi's mind raced with implications. People will talk. They'll say I have done things for my way into the position. Let them talk, Dominic replied with a shrug. The results will speak for themselves. And in 6 months, when you've proven yourself, which I know you will, we can revisit the personal aspects of our relationship. You've thought this through, she said, surprised by his thoroughness. I'm a businessman, Naomi. I find solutions to problems. His eyes held hers, unwavering. Our problem is that we both care too much to walk away, but the current situation is untenable. This is my solution. Naomi felt tears prick her eyes, overwhelmed by what he was offering, not just a job, but dignity, respect, and the promise of something more. What about Lily? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dominic's expression softened. I'd like to meet her when you're ready. No pressure, no rush. Just whenever you feel it's right. Naomi took a deep, shaky breath. I don't know what to say. Say yes, he urged, taking another step closer but still maintaining a respectful distance. Say you'll give us a chance, professionally first, and then? The unfinished sentence hung between them, filled with possibility. And if it doesn't work out, she asked, needing to consider all angles. Then you'll have excellent experience for your resume, and I'll have had the privilege of working with you. His smile was gentle. No pressure, no expectations, just an opportunity. Naomi studied him, searching for any sign of deception or ulterior motive. Finding none, she nodded slowly. Yes, she said, her voice growing stronger. Yes to the job. The rest, we'll see. The tension in Dominic's shoulders released, and his smile widened. Thank you. They stood there in the dim office, the sounds of the gala fading into the background as they regarded each other not as CEO and Maid, but as Dominic and Naomi, two people standing on the precipice of something that could change both their lives. I should get back, Naomi said eventually, gesturing toward the door. Dominic nodded. One more thing. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card, offering it to her. My personal number, for when you're ready to tell Lily about your new job. Naomi took the card, their fingers brushing in a moment of electric connection. The card felt heavy in her hand, weighted with promise and possibility. Good night, Dominic, she said softly, turning toward the door. Good night, Naomi, he replied, his voice a caress. See you Monday. Same office, different desk. As she walked away, Naomi couldn't help but smile. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in years, she was eager to find out. And as Dominic watched her go, he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, not as CEO and Maid, but as equals who had found something rare and precious in the most unexpected of places.